Hello, my name is Fritz KO, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Fritz KO Vids. And what I have for you guys here today is another episode of my talk show, Factual Conspiracy. My guest today, as alias, is George Eucalyptus. He is a Freemason. He has agreed to join us on the show today and answer several questions. Hello, George. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I appreciate you inviting me into your show here, and the conversation we're gonna have is gonna be very interesting, and I can't wait.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time. This is something that we've been planning for a while here. We're both busy individuals with busy lives and families, and so it's taken us a while to prepare this for you all. And just to get started here, is there anything, I know you want to keep a lot of information limited, but is there anything that you would like to tell the viewers about yourself before we get started here?
Certainly. Obviously, Fritz told you my name would be George Eucalyptus. I'm a member of Blue Lodge. I'm not gonna say what lodge I am part of. I am also a member of York Rite, which will be Aurora Arch, Cryptic Council and Commandery. I'm also a member of the Grotto. I'm a member of other organizations that has Masonic connection to it. I don't want to say them all because it's just a long list of stuff. But yes, the reason why I don't want to put my name out there on my location is because I have certain unfortunate situations where people, give or take, they actually damaged my car. And Freemasons don't have a good reputation down here, so we have to keep it private, unfortunately. So yeah, thank you.
I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm glad that despite these unfortunate events, you were more than willing to come on my show here today and answer a few questions. And I wanted to let you and the viewers know that some of these questions will be quite controversial. And the last thing I would want to do, George, is offend you as a person. So not every question I'm going to ask you is specifically a question that I deem important, but I have a YouTube following here that I know for a fact there's specific questions that they would want me to ask you, so I'm going to ask you those. And I appreciate your patience with us and taking the time to answer all these questions. All right.
Sounds good to me. Let's get this rolling.
All right, I think we should start out with a brief history lesson of Freemasonry. I will fill in what I believe to be, and you could correct me here along the lines if you find that I'm saying some things that are inaccurate. As far as I know, personal research I've done, Freemasonry is started from a bricklaying society that goes far back as possibly to Solomon and Solomon's Temple. One of the founders was Hiram Abiff. He was actually killed by laborers of the Freemasons. And from there, the traditions went into Europe, and throughout time, different organizations like the Knights Templars, possibly Illuminati, and different other organizations have filtered into the Freemasonry, leading up to the forefathers of America, George Washington, Benjamin Franklin. They all were practicers of Freemasonry, and that leads us up to modern times. Where Freemasonry is now, as quoted by Freemasons, is a dying art. I guess the membership is, the new enrollment of members is not what it once was. How does this sound accurate as far as the information I've presented so far, George?
Somewhat accurate to a certain degree. Freemasonry came from the guilds of stonemasons, actually. Stonemasons that we all know came from different parts of the world, from Greece. And there's actually, I don't really know the name particularly. I don't want to, say, but I think it's like Collegia, something like that. I apologize to the followers if I said it wrong. But like I was saying, stonemasons, they had a guild, in different parts of the world. And Freemason came too from that because there was a lot of during the time, I think it was like 1700, there was not that many stonemasons, and there was a lot of guilds. So at that time, the guilds started taking in people that were not stonemasons. They were just speculative masons, and that's how Freemason came about. Unfortunately, the whole conspiracy thing comes, about, Freemasons came from Egypt and all that. That's not necessarily true because, like I said, Freemasonry came from. Sorry, I just hear it echoing back.
Oh, you're fine. Go on, George. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that's what really Freemason came from, just the stonemason guild. It was just to accept people that weren't masons at the time. They were just regular, free thinkers, Freemasons, free thinkers. You kind of see what that free came from. So that's how that came about. There's a lot of books, there's a lot of history stuff out there about the guilds itself. They're very unique and very, very, how can I say without being too up there? They're very special. If you look, like I said, if you go into the history books and you check during the Roman time, they actually had guilds. Even Pompeii had a stonemason guild as well. So, that's how Freemasonry came about. Just, taking all of the stuff from different guilds and making it into an actual fraternity for non-Masons, non-operated Masons to join and seek and try to build themselves into better people.
So it's all these separate guilds that eventually came together probably around the Italian Renaissance age, like Leonardo da Vinci and all these other things. It seems like around that period, Freemasonry, at least what we know of it today, was probably established around then. And then, like you said, in the 1700s, the skilled trade of masonry was a dying art, and they started to take in socialites and acolytes and upper elitists. People probably like the Rothschilds and them probably started to join at that time. Hopefully you could fill in the blanks with us here on that.
Well, I don't really know if they're members at all, the Rothschild, but I would probably say they aren't. You get a lot of conspiracy theories out there saying, Illuminati and, all these rich people that control the world, they control, the Illuminati group control Freemasonry. But from my experience, they can't control Freemasonry because Freemasonry is this lodge is, we govern ourselves, and the Grand Lodge governs the lodges to make sure that each lodge follows through the rules of rich rule and, paying dues and to make sure everything's regular. When we pay dues, we pay a certain amount of money to the lodge that goes to the lodge that pays, pays rent, electricity and all that. There's no way that they can control us because they're going to get $1 each lodge. So I don't know. There's a lot of craziness out there about the conspiracy stuff and rich people controlling the lodges, which isn't true.
And interesting, and we'll get into that here shortly. My next question would be so there's normal lodges, and then there's a Grand Lodge. Okay, and like, for example, you're a Freemason. How would one go about going from a lower level or degree, entered apprentice, and you go past that degree to the third degree, and how would one get up to be a member of the Grand Lodge?
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. To become a member, you have to go to a lodge or, find a local lodge in your general area. And once you do, you will have to talk to the members. See, they need to, you got to try to reach out and see. They want to see how you are. And it'd be good for you to, ask questions and they can answer it for, like how many meetings they have for 1 month, how much the dues cost, and et cetera, et cetera. Once they find you a suitable candidate, they'll give you a petition. You just sign your name, just like an application, basically. Sign your name, you give a couple references, your addresses, all that for the degree of masonry. Afterwards, you give it to the lodge. The lodge reviews it. Then they send out 3 individuals to your house. or wherever you want to meet them. If you want to meet them at a lodge or, at a store, at a pizza shop, whatever, and you guys meet up and you guys talk about masonry and they actually fill questions. You're a good candidate for masonry. Once that happens and you are brought in to join the group or the lodge, you end up getting your degrees. Different lodges, different states might have a different way of doing things. You might get your degree once a month. You might get it once a year, or you might get it once a week. It just all depends on the lodge itself. Once you get your third degree, you are automatically a member of the Grand Lodge of your state. Because you follow, you go to their meetings, you can do whatever you want, but you don't have a vote within the Grand Lodge. You have to be a junior warden, senior warden, who wish for mass. You have a legitimate vote. Vote for, I don't know, God knows, like a charity event that Grand Lodge wants to put. You cannot vote until you become those 3 officers of the line. But you can go to a Grand Lodge meeting.
Now, George, I just want to stop you for a quick second. You're giving us wonderful information, but before I forget, we always constantly hear the slogan, you must know one to be one, or to be one, ask one. Now, do you have to know a Freemason to become a Freemason, or can you just randomly walk off the street into a lodge and have a chance of actually being accepted and joining?
Yes, you can, actually. We had a couple of incidents in my lodge where we had an individual that actually walked into our lodge after we went to dinner and said, "Hey, what's going on? I heard masonry. I heard you guys have meatloaf." We enjoy that kind of stuff. If you come to a lodge, when we have a meeting during a dinner, you come down, you hang out with us, that's fine with us. We will answer any question you have. Any concerns, we could address right in there. And if you want to bring your wife and your kids, that's fine too. But the whole thing to know one be one is that now, back in the day, no one knew who was a Mason because we didn't wear rings, we didn't have emblems. So it was really hard to know when the lodge meetings were at because no internet. So the only way to know, to join the fraternity was to, unfortunately, know one to be one. But now, obviously, that changed with, the internet, all that stuff. Now you see people wear rings, hats, shirts. So you go to any Mason. If you want to become Mason or you have any questions, you see a Mason, you can walk up to him and ask him any question you want. Obviously, you have to be respectful, and you need to understand that he's not going to answer a certain question you have if it's got to do with like Illuminati and all this craziness. It's like I'm out with my kids. I don't talk about stuff like that right now. So yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, so you're there with your children and whatnot. So this idea that there's nothing but Satan worshiping and sacrifice and all this stuff going on, it's probably not the case, is what you're trying to elaborate on, right?
Yeah. Well, for instance, I had an experience where I was actually inside Walmart and I was with my daughter and we had the toy section. I wore my hat, which I don't wear Masonic stuff that much. But this particular incident I did. I had a gentleman actually walked up to me and was asking me a question about masonry, which I was fine with it. I'm like, yeah, I would talk. And then it came from masonry to Satan worship to killing babies, sucking their blood, and all this unnecessary stuff in front of my daughter. And my daughter's only six years old. So I'm like, okay, here's my card. If you want to talk, because you come to the lodge, you can talk. But at this moment, it's not appropriate. Because that kind of stuff, like I could answer that, but it's not the time and place to be taught. I could talk short about certain stuff, but that stuff is very, it's like.
Let me help elaborate on the traditional conspiracy and to help into this with me, George. Like, for example, if you feel comfortable, what level or degree are you? Just to help me further this along. The only thing I'm assuming is what?
Well, third degree. The third degree is the only highest degree in Masonry. Everything else is a added degree and a body degree.
Now, do you have all the appended degrees all the way up to 33rd, or no?
33rd is Scottish Rite. I am not a member of Scottish Rite.
Okay.
33rd and Scottish Rite are very great.
Have you obtained all the degrees that you can for your lodge? Are you the highest degree for your particular lodge?
Nope. The highest, like I said, the highest level. Whatever you receive outside of the Blue Lodge will be, like I said, I'm a Barrage Mason. That would be 5th, 6th degree. I forget because it's a master degree.
Okay, so what I'm showing right now, George, what I'm showing right now is from the old Bible that I have from 1933. And on the scale, it shows the different types of Freemasonries, you know, and on the right, it shows the Scottish Rite. So you would be on the left, either on the bottom or the top there. What is the highest degree, if you don't mind sharing that, for your particular type of Freemasonry? I believe you said you're the Blue Lodge?
Well, it depends what you're talking about. Different organizations have their degrees. Now, the only way to join independent bodies, you have to be a 3rd degree Mason. So that's why I say, and everyone else will say, the third degree Mason of Masonry, Master Mason, is the highest degree. Reason being because if you're not a 3rd degree Mason, you can't join the other.
You can't join what? You broke up for a second.
You can't join the other independent bodies of Masonry.
Okay. The whole point I was getting at with asking you those not tended to be evasive questions is that the traditional conspiracy is that the lower level guys don't really know what's going on. So for someone to approach you in society and accuse you of Satan worshiping and all these other things doesn't even fit into the traditional conspiracy. You understand what my meaning is of this.
Yeah, I fully understand. I want to ask the conspiracy theories or theorists or individuals that they really believe that the lower you are, the less you know, the higher you are, the more you know. How would they know? Wouldn't they be in the same level I'd be if I was on the level?
And that's exactly why this interview is extremely important to me and probably other intellectual types, is because how could we know 100%? And that goes both ways though too, George. It would be nice if you could admit that even though more than likely from your point of view it's definitely not happening, but really in truth anything is possible. And what's going on at the top of this, like everything in life is a pyramid. You know what I mean? And it's interesting that Freemasonry uses that symbology over and over again, symbolism, because, our media structure is a pyramid. You know what I mean? And at the top, very few people know exactly what everyone below them is doing, and everything else is compartmentalized. And that goes into the military. That goes into politics when you're dealing with the president and lower officials. Just every aspect of life, everything is like a pyramid. And that would actually be my next question for you, is what exactly is Freemasonry referencing to when they reference the pyramid all the time in symbolism? Is it exactly what I just specified right now, that life is like a pyramid, you want to climb to the top? Because I've always wondered.
No, Well, in Masonry, when you join Masonry, there's no talk, there's nothing within the ritual, there's nothing that has to do with the pyramid. That's all about, that's what the conspiracy theorists have put out there about the pyramid, all this crazy.
Well, but though, in defense, not to be rude and cut you off, but in defense, our forefathers did design, our currency. There is pyramids, but Freemasonry, recognized pyramid symbology used over and over. I was just curious if you may know.
Actually, you talk about the pyramid that's on the dollar bill, because that wasn't created by the forefathers. That was created right after. I forget when it was, but it was like 100, 200 years after. The only thing that they did create.
It was definitely a public official that had something to do with the creation of the currency. You know what I mean, though? And I'm sure there was some Freemasonry attachment there to that.
Well,
I could be
it
wrong,
might
but
be, but I don't see it in a member of many organizations. What I do see, the symbolism of the pyramid, that has nothing to do with climbing up to the top and being, the number one god and elite guy. I see it as a building stone for your inner temple, building yourself from the bottom to the top, making yourself better as a person, from the in and from the out, learning stuff, getting educated, educating yourself with life in general, like there's.
and that's interesting because I think I've read close to that very same thing in one of these books here that I own. You know what I mean? That you are supposed to make your life like a temple and yada yada.
Yeah,
And
because
one thing before we get too
individuals.
far, away from this, the gentleman, as inappropriate as I feel that it was, how he treated you in front of your daughter, I would never conduct myself in that fashion, accuse you or your fraternity of being a Satanist with your kids in Walmart. But long story boring, it's possible that gentleman somewhere along the line had maybe stumbled across Morals and Dogma, a book written by Albert Pike. You know what I mean? And he was a very high level Scottish Rite Freemasonry. He was a member of the Golden Circle, which is the Knights of Cincinnatus, which was formed by actually George Washington. It was a secret order of the military left over from the American Revolution. Later on, that turned into the Ku Klux Klan. Albert Pike is, been specifically recognized as the one of the original founders of the Ku Klux Klan, and he was a high-level Freemasoner. There's a statue of him downtown Washington, D.C., still to this day. And I would be curious what's your personal bias towards Morals and Dogma, Albert Pike, his philosophies. He mentions Luciferian doctrine over and over in this book. He mentions Lucifer, the devil, by name in this book. It's an interesting read, and it's a book that's copyrighted when all these other books are not. You know what I mean? They don't possess a copyright, and I've also heard that is so that it cannot be publicly, disseminated and reprinted. Like you could take one of these books and reprint it. It's not protected by copyright, but you could not do that with Morals and Dogma. And the last time I believe that it was circulated was like in the late 1950s, so it hasn't even been republished. This book sells for hundred something dollars online. If you can find a copy, you're gonna have to pay a pretty penny.
Yeah. Wow, you just threw everything at me, huh?
Yeah, I know. Sorry about that. It's just I lay all my cards down I lay all my cards down at once. Call the bluff.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning.
Let's forget about the Ku Klux Klan and all that stuff. Let's just what do you think about Pike, and what do you think about Morals and Dogma?
Okay, so what I personally think about Pike, I don't think he's 100% correct on his findings. But that's what's great about Freemasonry, is that everyone has their own opinion. They have their own research. If you go with Mackey, another philosopher of Masonry, which he was a third degree Scottish Rite Mason, his belief is way different than Albert Pike, obviously. You will see a lot of philosophers within Masonry that have different opinions. They might talk about the Luciferian doctrine and all this craziness. And it's up to the reader, it's up to the Mason himself to take what he wants and basically
what do you think
form his own opinion on the matter.
What do you think Pike meant by that?
Basically, I don't believe anything what Albert Pike says, because for one, we don't worship Lucifer, and that's not what he was getting at either. I'm not trying to say that's what he was saying, but his whole background about the morning star and all that, it's very interesting, but it's not me, not the kind of stuff I'm into. Now I'm into Mackey stuff. I'm into some of the deeper esoteric side of Mason, and his stuff is a little off side, so I'm not He's a great man. He's very educated on this matter. But I disagree with many things he has said, and but that's what's great about Masonry. Some people agree with him, some people disagree with him. There's other philosophers that have different, and they speak about different things, have their educational opinions on the matter, and yeah, that's all I could really say.
Have you read Morals and Dogma?
About
Because
that.
I heard once upon a time, online I read actually that this, in the 50s or so was actually given to every, certain degree member once they attained some like 31st degree, they were given this book. Have you heard that before?
I have heard that. I talked to a couple brothers, and they actually confirmed this, that it was given, but it's not given within a blue lodge, a craft lodge, because it has nothing to do with craft lodge to a certain degree. Like I said, some members might take it in and be like, okay, this makes sense. This is what I believe in. Okay, that's whatever. But it was actually given after you became a Scottish Rite Mason. Or a 33rd Mason. I don't know which one is true, but I heard both. If you became Scottish Rite Mason, they give it to you, or you became 33rd. Whichever. But
What do you think Albert Pike meant when he said? What do you think Albert Pike meant when he said that the Masonry should be practiced in the strictest Luciferian doctrine? What do you think he meant by that?
I think he was talking about the charitable side. If you look in the Luciferian doctrine, it talks about being caring and understanding and charitable to people and people that aren't Masons. That's what I think he was going towards. And plus, back in the day, the way they spoke, the way they said things was way different. So now this is modern, so we might take it as, oh, he's talking about Lucifer. But realistically, he's talking about something completely different than what we think today.
Now, you understand though how that could get a negative, how that could get negative, the name Luciferian doctrine. It's it's negative. You know what I mean? It implies possibly, it's named after Satan. Is what it seems like. And I understand, the way people talk. And 200 or 300 years ago, we probably all still had European accents and slangs are different and this and that. I understand that. But I'm pretty sure the devil was still called Lucifer then. I mean, I could be wrong. And I'm not trying to ambush you. I'm not trying to ambush you here. I'm just trying to get across all the questions that I know people are going to want me to ask you.
Yeah, no, it's fine. To get back to that, the whole thing, I'm a very religious person. I'm within the commandery, which you have to be a Christian to join the organization. So I am very, very, very religious with I take my religion very seriously. I'm a Christian, and I don't, in lodge, I do not take our religion, which, everyone knows, religious politics are the two stuff that divides men and women. But we don't talk about those two things. Now, the esoteric side, if you want, you can talk to other brothers about, outside lodge, and you can talk about Lucifer, et cetera, et cetera. But what I have experienced or read, yes, Lucifer is the devil, which changed his name to Satan. But the Luciferian group, it's actually a religious group that was before I think the church is Satan or whatever, but they had to do with Lucifer before he became Satan, before he was bad. This is from my research. I could be completely wrong, but
that's interesting. That's very interesting, and I've heard watched a lot of different things on Satanism, and I never realized before that they could be worshiping the devil like what he was when he was an angel. Is what you're saying? That's the form they're worshiping, not him now as a devil, but like what he used to be.
Yes, he was very caring and very charitable. So that's what, for my research, that's what I have came across.
Interesting.
Because I was very interested with more of the dogma and the whole Morning Star and the whole Luciferian group and all that stuff. And actually, it's very interesting because they actually they are very, very nice people. I met a couple of them. They're not Masons, by the way, because we don't take Luciferians, we don't take atheists. We take people that believe in a high power. And if you believe your God or your whatever high power is Lucifer or Satan, no, that's a no-go in Freemasonry because we believe in light. We believe in certain things within ritual that will be contradictory towards your belief if you are satanic or Church of Satan or whatever Satan is.
Yes. And now you've heard, in the conspiracy culture that, just to refer to as light is to refer to Lucifer, to refer to the devil. It's like that's the thing, is it's a code. You get what I'm saying? This is is it.
So, I don't want to cut you off real quick. I just must forget. Now, let me ask you a question. Now, light has to do with the good, the excellent, the positive stuff. So when people say Lucifer light, that's talking about him when he was in the light of God. That's the thing that people don't understand. Like when you talk about light and the devil, that doesn't make any sense. That's like saying it's like talking about a pedophile and he's going to school and giving kids freaking I don't know, he's going to school with little kids and teaching them how to read books. It's contradictory. You can't do both. You have to do one. If you're shown to be within the light and you're the devil, the devil, that doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just rambling.
No, you're fine. I figured I'd throw that out there because that's what people say. And the whole deal is we should move on, and let's move on to talking about Captain Morgan.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Well, we also have I don't know how many of you out there are familiar with the Mormon religion, but there's Joseph Smith. We could talk about him too. They both have something in common that I've never seen any interviewer or documentary make the connection to them both before. They were both drug out of jails by Freemasons and executed. One way or another, that's the whole thing. People don't really know exactly how either one of them were killed, even though, they know how Joseph Smith was killed because he was killed in front of everybody, but...
Well, Captain Morgan, backstory, he supposedly fought in a war.
The American Revolution. The American Revolution. He was a highly decorative captain.
Well, he said he was a captain, but in I guess in the history books, in the military books, they said that he was a private or something like that.
You never know.
But long story short, what was that?
Oh, I just said you never know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. They probably messed up on recording his rank or whatever. But from what I have been told in a lot of my research, and by the way, if you want to see an episode about Captain Morgan, there's a group on YouTube called the Masonic Roundtable. It's going to be a Morgan Affair, episode 131, which explains a lot about Captain Morgan.
Interesting. I will watch that, and I recommend that all the viewers out there go and watch that too. Could you say it one more time? How can they find that?
Certainly. It's called the Masonic Roundtable. The episode is 131, and the title will be Morgan Affair.
Interesting. I will watch that. I'm sure other people will out there too.
They explain YouTube. They're on YouTube and they explain that they even talk about the Luciferian group. They talk about Lucifer. They talk about Bahamut, Bohemian Grove. For people who don't know what we're talking about, Captain Morgan was a gentleman who either became a Freemason or somehow was acting like he wanted to. He infiltrated the Freemason group. Somehow along the lines, he said he had, whether he did or not is all conjecture, but he said he had secrets that he was going to publicize in a book. He was then arrested.
as documented on Wikipedia, like you can go to Wikipedia, you know what I mean? Not even obscure places, and you can find them saying that Freemasons came and got him out of the jail. Now, there was never a body found, but it's totally assumed that he was murdered and drowned in a river or a lake. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, he was never seen again.
Mm-hmm. I don't, I don't know the whole. No one knows what really happened to Captain Morgan.
Yes,
I
yeah.
would hope that he lived his life in Canada, which that's a lot of people are saying that he may have got paid by the brothers down in New York City to move to Canada.
Now, you are just one man, George. I do not want you to get the feeling that I am holding you responsible for everything that's ever been done in history for the organization that you belong to, because I don't. And I'm sure anyone with common sense out there would agree with that too. And again, I just want to reconfirm that I appreciate, and everyone else I'm sure appreciates you taking the time to answer all these questions, and I'm sure some of them could be highly offensive. Please continue.
Yeah, it is totally fine. Whatever they did, it's on them, not me. I totally agree with you. But to really touch the surface of the situation is that we just don't know what really happened with it. It was very secretive.
Yeah, and that's what Wikipedia says. They said there was never a body found. People don't know. It's speculatory, but he's assumed to have been murdered.
That might be the possibility, but there was a lot of situations with Captain Morgan himself. I'm not defending if he was murdered. Again, if he was murdered, I don't condone what they have done. But to get back to Captain Morgan, he was a swindler. Unfortunately, the reason why he got in trouble is because they found him not to be a Mason, and he actually joined Royal Arch, learning certain things, and they actually were really peed off about that. And I guess they would try to make a charter in his hometown or somewhere, and he was about to be a charter member. And they told him, no, you cannot be a charter member because you are not a brother. You're not a member. You lied to us. So he got mad, he got a little hurt. So he ended up making a book with another gentleman that actually the gentleman was a EA and was stopped to become a fellowcraft, or I think it was fellowcraft to Master Mason. And he was an editor. And long story short, when Captain Morgan disappeared, this gentleman published the book. And I actually have the book in my possession. Not the original, obviously, but I got a copy of the book, and I can tell you right now, it's not what you think it is.
I know what's the nastiest secret in there. You know what I mean? Because that's what the conspiracy theory is, that that he was writing a book exposing all their deepest, darkest secrets. And I've not particularly read that book. It's a book that I would like to obtain. But there's only so much time, and there's so many books. And the older one gets, the more one realizes, the less the less you know. And that's just the sad fact of everything, is that there's not enough time. There's never enough time to learn everything, George. And I appreciate your patience bearing with me and my questions as we go along here. I think it's time we move along now to Joseph Smith. I think it's now time we move along to Joseph Smith and the Mormons, because, quite honestly, from my personal research, it seems like the whole Mormon religion and temples and everything is a ripoff of Freemasonry. And it seems like Freemasons agreed when they broke Joseph Smith out of jail and executed him.
Actually, to tell you the truth, historically, he was not killed by a Mason. He was killed by a couple men. I think it was like a religious battle with the Mormons and the Christians, or the Protestants. I'm not really sure.
Well, I think he was also arrested for selling fake treasure maps. He said he found the tablet books of gold. He was a con artist. Number one, Joseph Smith was a con artist. The Mormon religion, and I hate to disrespect any person, was made up by a con artist.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But to make you understand of the situation, that he was never killed because of that. He was killed by a mob, And actually, before he was killed, he asked Masons for help on the roof, and unfortunately, he was shot before he could get his mouth open and say, help me or whatever it was. Yeah, he was a Mason. He was not killed by Masons. It is proven that he actually was asking for help by Masons because there was a mob outside. I think it was his hotel room. I'm not really sure. But it was too late. He was killed before he could say those.
Well, you know what the conspiracy theory is, and that's wonderful, George. You're a wonderful guest. You possess a lot of information and more detail than I have, so you're able to elaborate on things for us, and that's wonderful. But you know what the conspiracy, I have to bring it up. You know what the conspiracy is that the mob was really Freemasons. That the mob was Freemasons, and the mob was organized by Freemasons. That's the conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to get off the topic right quick, do you realize, Mozart?
Mozart?
Yeah, he was actually a Freemason. He was initiated, I'm pretty sure it was France, and his father was a Freemason as well. Lewis and Clark was Freemasons.
Exactly, and Lewis and Clark actually, the one of them that was the Freemason that was found murdered under mysterious circumstances, it was speculated that he was murdered too by Freemasons. It's wild that you would bring that up because that's like.
But he was not murdered by Freemasons because actually he was very known. He was very respected within the Freemason fraternity community, and actually they have his actual apron because he came from Masonic lodge. Before his death.
Oh, for sure. And it said just like
I don't know what lodge has it.
It said you know what it said, George.
With blood on it.
Yeah, and you know what it said, George. Just like Christopher Columbus was in the secret societies, so was he. And that there's information that's being held from society, like the New World, because there's already maps of that. And that's what people reference the pyramid to, secret knowledge being hid. Just lots of different things, you know. And it's kind of wild that he was able to discover all these things like he already had the map. You know what I mean? While he was making it.
Yeah.
And one thing Lewis and Clark had that was really cool, they had an air rifle that they could lean back against a tree and they could blast antelope to pieces with that and deer and everything else. I mean, people don't realize why air rifles are illegal.
Yeah. But unfortunately, people don't realize that Freemasons has been prosecuted and executed throughout time because we've been very secretive. Now, people don't understand that the reason why we are secret is because back in the day, who controlled the government? The church, right?
Yes.
The Roman church. And if you was against them, they killed the Knights Templar. They killed them all. Now, with that being said, who wants to speak against a government that you're going to get killed by? So the Freemasons, knowing that they're getting prosecuted, became secret. They were found to be, found to be members of this group. They will be executed. So, it's like nowadays, they're not saying, they're going to kill us now. I'm not trying to say it. I'm saying, like, if it was happening now and stuff like that, you try to be secretive about your movement, secretive about your personal life.
It's interesting that you bring up
the group because you will find you'll be killed.
Yes.
And people don't realize that during World War II, Hitler killed the Freemasons before he killed the Jews. During the Spanish Inquisition, the Freemasons was killed. I could keep naming stuff. Germany, they, after the whole World War II situation, they were going to lodges, finding lodge books with all the names and going to people's houses and killing them and their families because they were part of Freemasonry. Or, the male was, and then they killed the wife and the kids because, they're trying to wipe out the, thing. But yeah, it's unfortunate.
And they sent them, and they sent Freemasons to work camps too, just like they did Jewish people, and just like they did criminals, just like they did sexual offenders and deviants, and a lot of people were released from these camps, even some of these Freemasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And history, you know what Napoleon said about history? Napoleon's a really interesting character. Napoleon said that history
Yeah.
was a fable agreed upon. So, and I
Yeah.
like to weed through a lot of different people's point of views from the time because opinions vary. You know what I mean? Even from people that existed at the very same time. And
Yeah.
for example, I heard that Hitler told all the Freemasons to excommunicate from Freemasonry, and the ones who didn't were the ones that were executed and sent to camps. The ones that refused to. What do you think? What did you hear about that?
That's half true.
Okay,
He did. There was a couple of Freemasons trying to protect their family that did help Hitler find some of the members, which is unfortunate. But it is proven that after they served their time, served their purpose for Hitler, they actually were, some of them were executed and the rest were in prison. So it was one of those unfortunate situations in history. It happened.
and there's many, and there's
Don't
many.
down.
That's really all history is just a series of sad, unfortunate events. And it's sad because the good guys
Exactly.
normally lose. And that's what was great about the founding of America. And Freemasonry was a helpful tool for that because if it wasn't for the secrecy that Freemasonry allowed our forefathers, we would have never established the New World. And that's exactly what it was supposed to do from the very beginning. We see all these references in New World, the Great Experiment, and that's exactly what it was because what has been done here has never been done before. And a lot of people don't realize exactly what America is. It's not a democracy. It's a republic of free men. There's a big difference in that because in democracy, the vast majority gets to push their will onto the lesser. And what people don't realize as they do that is that you're not always going to be the majority. Your point of view is not always going to be the majority, but with freedom in a republic of free men, you get to always be right as long as you don't hurt another person or hurt their property. And it's sad that we don't all realize this, and we need to get back to that. I mean, people fought and died in the American Revolution with no shoes for this, and we would just give it all away and trade it for MTV and fast food and a new iPhone.
You're absolutely right.
It's sad. It really is sad, George. And the Freemasons
No,
get a
you're
lot of
absolutely right.
guff. Freemasons do get a lot of guff, and I wish I could just say, hey, it's all inappropriate, but there are some interesting things that I have found, and some of the most disturbing really haven't even came specifically from the Freemasons as much as their sister group, the Shriners. Before I get into any of that, is there any way I could get you to explain to people how you become a Shriner, how you used to become one in the past, and how things have changed, and just give us a little bit of info about Shriners and Freemasonry?
Certainly, actually, back in the day, I want to say before uh, 2000, 2013, I want to say. No, I forget where. Oh, 2000. I think it was 2000. But before 2000, there was a requirement that you have to be a Scottish Rite Mason, would be 32nd degree, or you have to be a York Rite Mason, which you had to go through all the orders with the Royal Arch chapter, Cryptic Council, and you got to go to a commander. That was the requirement back in the day because they considered Shriners was like an honorary organization, like it's like the best of the best. But
Okay.
not too many people joined it, and the membership went down.
And we're all familiar with Shriners. If you're not, I'm sure you've been to a local community festival where you see the gentlemen with the cars with the little red fez hats, and they're all, from my childhood, they all look pretty ancient and harmless. You know what I mean? Anyway, go on.
Yeah, they're older than them.
Go on. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Well,
I just wanted to fill in the blanks for anyone who might not know who they are.
Yeah, they go to a lot of parades. They do a lot of things. Actually, the Shriners is one of the organizations that help kids. With the Shriners Hospital, the Burn Center, and they pump so much money into these organizations to help kids. It's outstanding. It's kind of ridiculous to see conspiracy theorists talk crap about Masons. And it's like these men are Masons. They take their time to go out and go to hospitals, see kids, to play with kids, to read books to kids, and it's like, what are you doing?
And that is very commendable,
No.
George. That is very commendable. And at the same time, here we go into the conspiracy of what you're talking about. But the sad thing is what I'm about to bring up is 100% fact, documented by the FBI, documented by CBS News. And in 1984, they were audited. The FBI and different other places had been investigating the Shriners Hospital services, and they found out that less than 1% out of several $1,000,000, it was only $182,000 that was actually used for the charity. Now they get a subsidy from the federal government of billions of dollars that is actually enough to sustain that the hospitals, and they are rated the world's second worst charity, and people are told time and time again to not donate their money to them, because pretty much what it is, man, you look through what they do, like the jesters, and you look at their symbolisms that they use and badges and pins, and they have like open coats with sheep with their heads and their crotch level of the coats. Here's a photo of that right now. Long story short, they're caught in all these different totally embarrassing sexual exploit scandals. Like they a judge was caught recently smuggling in a sex slave trade industry, and they're pretty much bringing prostitutes against across the border between Mexico and America, and Canada and Mexico, for different Shriner events. And there was a group of Shriners that went down to Brazil, and they had been acquiring girls in the lieu of, hey, we need a deckhand, someone to help us take care of the boat. And then later on, it's in question that these girls had been raped, some 15, 13, one as young as 9 years old. There's been multiple different documents out there for people to check out, where Shriners themselves have talked about the parties being pretty much sex orgies, and the different things from wives that have found things out and have disseminated that information out to the public. And it seems like there's a whole bunch of people are being taken advantage of. People that donate money to the Shriners, people that are in the institution in lower levels that don't realize this is going on.
Well, to answer your question, you need to not you, but the viewers and everyone else need to realize that the Shriners have its own temples. You know, one temple might have done that, but I will say, and I hope that they get prosecuted and in jail for life, because that's disgusting.
Yes.
I would not accept that kind of behavior in the fraternity. And if I catch a brother doing that, I will whisper wise counsel. And if that doesn't work, they will be taken care of by the worst master and kicked out of the group, because we do not accept that kind of behavior. But to get back to it, each temple does its own thing. You know, like lodges. You know, like different states. Different states have its own rules. Different temples have its own rules. Now, one temple might have done all that stuff, but you can't. But as a person, we can't generalize. Oh, because they're Shriners, all Shriners does it. No, with this particular temple, and they should be taken care of by the law, and they should have their charter or whatever it is.
And you're George, you're 100% right. I know I haven't came out and said this yet on anything, but you're 100% right from what I've looked into it. These were just individual lodges, of which there are hundreds, if not thousands. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And different lodges. And yes, there was never necessarily any link I could find for multiple lodges. It would always be one particular lodge, a group from this lodge had blah, 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 did this or that. But when it comes to the charity fraud and the charity abuse, that is grand scale, the whole Shriner group. You know, that's all lodges participating in that mass fraud. And that year that I'm talking about that happened was 1984. Now, that's not been like that since then, but still, it's a significant less amount from what they're getting in than what they're actually using in the Shriner hospitals. You know what I mean? What What are they using that money for? Because people who donate to that charity thinking it's going to the hospital to help the burn victims, and they got people like you, and they're donating your time to spend time with children and to read books to them and all this stuff, which is highly commendable, man. You know what I mean? And that's the whole thing, is that, I mean, if this is what people suspect it to be in the conspiracy theory, it really is a shame too, because I mean, there's a whole bunch of good men that are involved in these fraternities that are caught up in all of this. Like, you seem like a great guy, George. We've talked multiple times throughout the past several months getting ready for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just to get back to that, I totally agree with you, and we shouldn't generalize the whole group for a couple bad apples within the group. And I'm pretty sure after that whole situation happened, these gentlemen that did all this disgusting stuff and took the money and all that stuff are suspended and probably in jail and in prison for this disgusting behavior. Like I said, we do not tolerate such things. I don't know how it would go with the Shriners. I'm not really like Shriner International. I'm very ignorant with that because I'm not a member of it. But if it was in regular lodge, they will be charged by the court of law, and it will be charged within the lodge itself. Because if I'm a member of a shrine and I found out the secretary or whoever was doing all this stuff, I'm going to be looked down upon by the public because they think I'm doing the same thing this gentleman is doing, all these guys doing, And I'll say to all the temples, they're going to be like, well, these guys doing, they make everyone look bad. So I'm 100% confident that although the temples, the international or the Grand Lodge, I'm not really sure what the Shriners have, but I'm 100% confident that they took care of this situation. But
so these parties that we hear of, George, these parties that we hear of that are like
everything.
These parties that we hear of, George. Hey, George, these parties that we hear of that are like orgies and stuff, so is that commonplace? Have you ever been to one, or no?
Repeat that again, I didn't catch that.
Oh, well, we always hear about, like, especially with the Blood Brothers and the Jesters and the Shriners, we hear about these orgy parties, even going all the way back to Benjamin Franklin in the Nine Muses, the Lodge of the Nine Muses. Is that stuff real? Like, is there really orgy parties with hookers all over the place, and everyone's wasted, and you know what I mean?
Where at? I want to know. I'm sure. No, there is none that I know of, and if there was, like I said, the Grand Lodge and a couple other, all the people who get involved and say this is unapproved. I can say from experience what I have seen, those kind of stuff is looked down upon because our fraternity talks about becoming a better man. How could you be a better man when you're married and having sexual stuff done to you by a prostitute? That's kind of hypocritical.
So what the consensus basically is that there's bad apples, and we all know this. Anyone with common sense knows how wonderful any institution is. There's always going to be bad apples.
Unfortunately, you're right. I do not want to put no one out there because obviously I don't know any group like that. And if there was, I would definitely take upon myself to make it known with the brethren and tell them, hey, this is not appropriate, man, because I'm married, I have kids, I love my wife, and the fact that what happens that goes like everyone look.
Oh, hold on 1 second. You're breaking up, George. One more time.
I said that I would have if I was involved in a situation like that and I've seen stuff like that, I would definitely bring it upon myself to go to the other brethren and tell them, hey, this is going on. The reason why is because once it goes to the public, people hear about it. They think, even though you weren't involved in it, what happens? They think you're already involved. They go, oh, wait, you did this with the prostitutes. Like, what?
Yeah.
I wasn't even there. What are you talking about? I don't like that stuff. So it makes the whole group look bad. It makes everyone look bad. So we do not approve of those things.
What would make the group look good? You know what would make the group look good? A donation fund to the victims of what happened down in Brazil, number one.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any Shriners listening to this right now, I hope they realize that number one, I mean, you know what I mean? This was done in your institution's name. It's time to, you know, not drop the ball. It's time to pick up the ball and do what's right. Send these girls to college that were victimized by the institution. Let's do this. Let's do this right. Let's do this right.
And then, you said this happened in 1984?
No, the fraud happened in 1984. This happened just recently in the last 5 years. The molestation of the girls down in Brazil, and I made a video. Everything you know about Freemason. It's called Freemasonry in the Shrine, and I talk about it. I give dates specifically. At this point, I've made over 100 something videos, and so for me to just to be able to regurgitate every fact that's in all of these videos on the fly is just impossible. It's never going to happen. And you know, for that, I do apologize. I wish I was like a human computer, but I cannot remember every single little thing. And but yeah, all that details that I'm missing is in that video. I meticulously documented dates, time, years, amounts of money, the trips, the people involved. There's high level political people that were involved in the Shriners that were trying to cover this up. You know what I mean? And the federal government had to come in and bust them. So I mean, this is a very messed up thing, and I doubt even anything would ever happen out of it. But you know, the judge who was known in New York State, I wish I could remember his name, for being one of the worst on people who committed sex trafficking, was caught doing it. You know what I mean? And he had to send so many people to prison already. He's doing the same thing. You know what I mean? And like I said, you can't blame an institution for a few bad apples, but these jesters are constantly known for this kind of stuff, and they symbolize it in their symbology.
I don't know them particularly. I know stuff like you. You know, I research stuff in there. You know, they seem to be a fun group, which I am a member of a few. So, what from my experience, being in a fun group,
their motto is spread mirth.
Don't do the stuff they do, or what they supposedly do, quote unquote. We have family nights. We have wife and husband nights. You know, you bring your wife to the lodge where the group is organized. You know, you have beers, wine. You just hang out with the other guys. You know, we do different things. You know, sometimes we go to movies. We have pizza parties. We have stuff for the kids, et cetera, et cetera.
You know what it kind of sounds like? The picture that you paint, George, kind of sounds like a fun alternative to going to church.
Yeah, well, without the religious part, yeah.
Well, I know it's a fun alternative to going to church. You know, because church isn't always that fun. You know what I mean? But anyway.
Because the whole, because you know, in lodge, you know, when you have your meetings, you have to be professional, you have to be serious, and you have, you know, when you do the group work, you have to be 100% on your game. Now, the fun groups are basically, you're not serious. You have fun. You know, you have fun within the meetings. You make jokes. You do this. It's to line up the whole mood. You know, because you know some people when they go to lodge, they're like, oh, this again. I can't wait for this to be done. So I go down to eat food, et cetera, et cetera. This is kind of a fun alternative for the brothers to get together. But to get back to your subject about the road gestures, this is my opinion. This is only me. This has nothing with the fraternity itself. A lot of brethren will agree with me. Actually, 99.9% that will agree with me. And the other percentage is the people that was involved, which I will say that's disgusting. They should be arrested and prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But my opinion is on that situation is that I feel that it's wrong, obviously, and I think that they should be taken care of, which I just mentioned above. And I hope it doesn't happen again, because when one person messes up in the fraternity, they don't say the person's name. They just say the group he's in, generalizing the whole group. You know, when you don't hear, Mr. Euclid did this. You don't hear that. You hear, a group of Freemasons done this.
No,
and it kind of generalized the
you
whole
don't
group.
even hear a group. You just hear
Like the whole thing.
Freemasonry did this.
Yeah, like what happened in Tennessee and Georgia. Unfortunately, they do not accept gays within their lodge, their Grand Lodge. But people don't realize that each Grand Lodge is governed. They govern their own jurisdiction, and so they may not agree, and they're not with the being gay, and they don't accept gays. But all other Grand Lodges and lodges do. We don't discriminate against any man of his color or his sexual preference. And that should be looked. The fact that we did so much for the community, we did so much for each other. There's a lot of stuff that you guys don't hear about the community because we do behind closed doors. We help kids, we give them by. My lodge particularly actually bought a whole a public school. All the kids in the school backpacks.
Nice.
So you don't hear that kind of stuff.
No, you don't.
You don't hear that kind of stuff because we don't like promote it. Because we don't care about promotion. We just care about the kids. We care about families. We care. Different lodges do different things for the community. Some might go to the soup kitchen, help out.
And in your defense,
in
Freemasonry's defense, not that I'm trying to defend you guys, but one thing I do like to do is keep everything accurate, is that the average conspiracy Joe who makes these videos on YouTube is never going to present you with that information because it doesn't fit into the view or his agenda of what he's trying to get across from you. And what I would like to get across to everyone is the truth, not my point of view. Because I have points of views. I've not specifically shared them. Just like George as well has mentioned, I have a point of view. This is not necessarily the lodge's, this is mine. And that's exactly how things are. Everything's not just cut and dry. Everything's not good or bad. A lot of times, there is a fine line. And you know what I mean? Most of us walk that our whole life. Who among us are actually perfect people? Not very many. Not very many, like none.
No, I totally agree with you. There is bad people out there, Freemason, not Freemason, governor, non-governor, citizen. There's bad people everywhere. But we as a society needs to pick up on that and try to make people better. And if you can make them better, then we got to separate ourselves from that particular person.
Exactly. And it goes both ways, George. I have to go here, but it goes both ways, man. The whole deal is that conspiracy people are going to say, hey, like in this video right here, the traditional conspiracy is that the top are the rich, they're the elitists, they're controlling everyone. But then again, you say no, and I'm not trying to make you upset, George. I'm just trying to make a point here. Hopefully you can understand this too. But then you look at the Shriners and look at the example of fraud that I put out there. Again, and it's exactly what me and other people are worried about, is that they took advantage of everyone below them in the pyramid. They didn't know what they were doing until the FBI came through and audited them. And the whole deal is that
you're right,
and that so it is possible. That's the whole sad thing, George. I know you I hate to admit it, and I probably can't get you to, but the whole deal is it is possible. The conspiracy is possible. It's possible that you and all lower levels are being manipulated, and there is some kind of ulterior motive agenda that they're working towards. Could it be the New World Order? Could it just be acquiring funds, which is really, big surprise. Money makes the world go round. Would that really shock anyone? You know what I mean? But I'd like to hear your opinion on that.
Well,
and boy,
sorry, what's that?
Oh, I just said I'd like to hear your opinion on that.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Well, a lot of people try to fit the agenda with this whole high ranking, low ranking, middle ranking, all these 33 plus 36, 83 equals 666. Those to answer your question is that people will always try to fit the agenda with some random stuff. The whole Illuminati higher paying whatever is controlling Masons. I don't see it. There's no possible way. There is no way those individuals could control Freemasons. There's no way. The reason why is because when you go to lodge, every Freemason could vouch for this. When you go to lodge, you're in a seat or chair. I'm a officer of many different organizations. I'm within the Grand Lodge of the Royal Arch, so I know a couple stuff here and there.
Okay.
But to get to that is that each lodge is governed by the worshipful master. Okay? The worshipful master and the brethren, they do rehearsals to do their work, to know what to say, how to do stuff, how to do this, and be better speakers, which I am not. I got to work on it, unfortunately. But
you speak fine, George. You're doing a wonderful job
Grand
here
Lodge
today.
the Grand Lodge just makes sure each lodge is doing the right thing. They're doing the right ritual. They're doing the right lectures. They made sure that the person that was elected worship master is doing his job, making sure that the meetings are run properly. Okay, I'm in the officer line. I can tell you right now, there's no high-end guy that comes to lodge like, okay, hey, worship, this is going to happen today. We need to get the brothers to do this. No, there's no.
Well, what about this, George?
You go to any meeting.
One sec, George. What about
you
briefly talked about the Templars. They were kicked out of France by the king. I can't remember his name at the time. But long story boring, they went to Spain, and then from there they went to Scotland, and they helped fight in the Battle of Bannockburn and helped the Scottish win their independence. And from there they were granted immunity and let into Freemasonry and became higher ups in the whole of Scotland and Freemasonry. I mean, is what I'm saying incorrect, or do you agree with this?
Well, there's no document proof of this, of what you just said.
Wikipedia documents it.
Which there will be a lot of brethren that will disagree with me, and I respect that. But I do believe that's true. But let me answer. Excuse me, I can't talk right. I'm drinking too much coffee.
You're fine, bud. You're fine.
Ask you a question now. Now, if we came from Knights Templar, which I believe we do, they believe in Christian. No, they're a Christian organization. They're very, very loyal. They're very respectful. How does being a Satanist, killing babies, fit in with the Knights Templar? How's that? That doesn't kind of see what I'm saying? Like they're a religious group that.
The sad thing is after World War II, there was a commission that went across Europe to help rebuild all these churches. And, we always wonder, how can all these churches be into Satanism and blah, blah, blah? Well, like, more than half of all these churches, they found satanic altars hidden in the walls and secret passages underneath the place. It's just pretty wild, really, when you get to it. And when you look at this Bible real quick, George, because I'm showing it right now, you can't see it. Right here at the top, you got the Shriner symbol. So it seems like no matter, at least from 1933, and when the books nowadays that they give out to people do not have these symbolisms in them. But it seems like, you start at 1 to 2 to 3, and that's the same no matter what lodge you belong to, Blue Lodge, Scottish Rite, whatever. And from there you ascend up, and you looks like on this that you're working to be a Shriner. But before that, there's the Order of the Knights Templar, and before that, there's the Order of the Knights Malta, and then there's the Order of the Red Cross. Now, is that something that is possible for you to become, Order of the Knights Templar, or no? You're in the different. Like, are you in the Council of Kadash?
You're speaking about Commandery. Commandery, yes, it is Commandery of Knights Templar. Yes, they have the Order of Malta. I think the Order of Temple, and I forget the other part. I don't really go to their meetings. I got initiated, went to a couple of them. Unfortunately, I'm very busy with the other organizations. But yes, they are a Templar organization within Masonry. They are very serious about their religion, which is Christianity, which I am a Christian and take my faith very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Their whole thing is about charity. charity, respect, and helping others. They don't care, if they see a man on the ground needs help, and he's a Muslim, he's a Buddhist, doesn't matter. You have to help, and they are very, very. I want to emphasize this: very serious about their God. From the Bible. They're very serious about that. Now, if you talk to a Knight Templar, which I am, but if you talk to someone that's been to the meetings as an officer within a group, he will take offense to the fact that you say, "Oh, Masonry is satanic." No, I go to church every Sunday. I do this, I do this. No, I'm not satanic. I believe in God.
You know where that comes. You know where that comes from, right? And I hate to cut you off. It's just if I didn't, I don't think I'd get a lot of times to interject with you. But well, it's all Solomon's Temple. You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of talk unless you have a Bible. And in here's passages that relate to Solomon that isn't in a normal Bible. So Solomon is the big thing for you guys. That's a number one. And, what gets people on the Satan stuff, besides Albert Pike outright just saying it, is the fact that Solomon used demons to build his temple. You know what I mean? And
what happened to him afterwards? He fall from God's grace. Is that correct?
Correct. But that's why people wonder why are you doing the Luciferian doctrine? Why are you worshiping Solomon? And, when you say we're worshiping the old one, it's like, why would you even want to? And that's what people are going to ask.
Right.
You know what I mean? People are going to ask you that. And they're going to say that that's a cop-out, that you guys are really worshiping the new devil, that you're worshiping Solomon because he built the temple with demons.
Right, yeah.
But this is what people say.
You're absolutely right. It makes complete sense. Well, to answer your question, is that I don't want to get too much into the ritual aspect of Masonry. I don't want to break my obligation that I made. But to get back to Solomon's Temple, I'm just, bear with me. I'm trying to say stuff without, being wrong and saying too much.
No, we want you to say too much, but we want you to keep it right.
Exactly. Not so much saying too much. I don't want to say stuff that's wrong, and in my opinion, I want to be more factual than opinion.
Well, is there really a handshake?
He was a wise king. He built Solomon's Temple. Well, he didn't physically build it, but he
used demons.
Well, he helped him build it, and but to get back to that, he's a very wise king, and in Freemasonry, I guess that's where they see him as. He's not within our ritual. I don't know where people get that from. I know people are going to say, "Oh, you're a liar. He's in the ritual books," but he's not in the ritual books that I've seen. He might be in the Knight Templar degree, which I've been to a couple and I've never seen the ritual. I don't know, but I think the whole thing about him is that they talking about him before he became that. Before that, he was a wise king. He searched for knowledge, and the fact that he searched for knowledge, he became more educated.
In the Freemason Bible that I have here, it has the Book of Solomon. It has the Song of Solomon. I come from a highly religious background. I have never seen those before in a Bible before. You know what I mean? The Song of Solomon.
Yeah, I think they're just talking about they're not talking about the bad side of Solomon. They're talking about the good side.
Solomon's Temple. I'm pointing at books right now. Solomon's Temple is brought up in Freemason literature, even in lower level stuff. It's
I think that's where like a lot of things talk about.
I mean, Hiram Abiff, and when he got murdered, that took place in Solomon's Temple, as referenced in Freemasonry literature.
Who got killed?
Hiram Abiff.
Well, to get back to
you know what I'm talking about? The story of Hiram Abiff. He got killed in Solomon's Temple
I'm very aware by 3 individuals. I am very aware of that whole the whole, I guess you want to call it Masonic ritual, which, again, that's not Masonic ritual. It has nothing to do with Masonry, but people like to keep talking about it, but it's fine with me.
No, dude, it does. It's in the Freemason books. I mean, I will show the chapter. You know what I mean? It's in here. It's in this one. I have the Michigan Masonic Ritual Table of Contents. I'm not going to sit here and go through this right now, but it's in here. I've read it. That's how I know what I'm talking about. I read it in a Freemason book that I have.
No, I understand. I think it goes towards the fact that
well, when you say I don't know where people when you say I don't know where people get that from, they get it from the books. Because normally the only reason people can get these books like me is a guy actually passed away. He lived next door to my dad, and the lady threw all this stuff away, and he dug around in it and found these books and gave them to me because he knew I'd want to read them. And that's really how people get these books if they're not a Freemason. So basically, a lot of it's left to interpretation. Some of these books are in code. Some of them aren't. Some of them seem quite harmless. Some of them say some things that are downright I consider to be nasty and threatening to a person who lives their life such as myself. But that's my interpretation. It doesn't necessarily mean it's correct. That's why I have this interview with you today, and that's why I present you with these questions. And but yeah, this stuff I'm bringing up, I'm not pulling it out willy-nilly. It's stuff that I'm getting it from your books.
No, that's fine. Just to elaborate and get back to the subject real quick about Mr. Biff. There's a lot of things that Freemasons, like degrees, have.
He was the first Freemason. You know what I mean?
Back in the day, if you go through George Washington times, the degree work was way different. It had different individuals. They had different stuff. They had different background. It just had everything was very different during the time. Stuff changed, and
I know stuff's real lax nowadays, because the membership is down, and they're lax and stuff. To be a Shriner, you no longer have to be a 31st, 32nd, or 33rd degree because you used to have to be.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. A lot of things have changed. I'm not trying to sound like I'm lying or try to hold back information. It's just that I just want to be safe on certain things.
And I know there's certain things you can't talk about, right?
I do know about Hiram Biff.
I
do know about Solomon Temple.
But there are certain things you can't talk about, right, George?
Yeah, I do know that they may have been within the Masonic degrees, but we're talking about Masonic degrees probably 100, probably 50 years ago, and they always change. If you look at forget the book it's called, but if you check out a couple manuscripts from 1600, 1700, which I recommend you, the viewers or even you check them out. I'll send you a link to them.
Did you say the Vonage manuscript? Did you say the Vonage manuscript? To a certain degree.
Sorry, what's that?
Did you say the Vonage manuscript?
What was the first part? I didn't catch.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were referencing a book that was extremely obscure and people haven't deciphered. I apologize. Continue on, George.
No. It's a manuscript that talks about Freemasonry and the charges and the rules of Masons during that time. And you say they did multiple ones at different times. They'd have one that would talk about Euclid. They had another one that would talk about Pythagoras. There was another one that was talking about Hiram Biff. There's another one talking about Solomon Temple. So the point I'm trying to get at is that different times changes. They change the degree, they change the individual, they change who's in the degree. So yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. But it's very interesting to read something back in the day talking about individuals that you're like, hey, that's not what we do now. Oh, okay, cool. This is cool.
And it is possible that the books I have now are from a time where people kept their stuff a lot more secret and actually respected books better than they do nowadays. And it's possible that a lot of this stuff is 100% accurate. It's just not publicized because they want it more secret. Correct?
Possibly. It depends what you're trying to say public, because now we don't post anything that we use within Lodge, which makes sense, and the only thing we that's published is stuff from back in the day, which is not relevant to what we do today. They might, they're interesting, but they're not 100% correct. But nevertheless, they're very unique, and they have very special meaning towards the degree and to the individual, so very, very symbolic, I want to say.
All right, I wanted to read you this short little passage I have here from this book. It says it's actually from this little pamphlet I got, and this pamphlet, hold on, I believe it's from 1956. I actually found a copyright on this somewhere. Oh, 1951. And actually 1949, reprinted in 51, reprinted again in 54, reprinted again in 57, and reprinted again in 59. All right, so inside of it, it's basically what it says is, this is contents of this pamphlet are intended to be the beginning of the study of many characteristic symbols of the Fellowcraft degree. Inside of it, they tell you what the pillars represent, what the meaning is. And but it also says, be on guard always. And basically what it says the pillars are God supporting Masonry. Does that sound correct?
I don't want to say it's correct because that's more opinion than anything.
I understand.
But my personal opinion, it sounds correct, yeah.
Okay. But this says at the very end of just some some basic stuff here, but it was interesting because this little pamphlet explained that and other things that the books didn't, but the books I have are newer. Anyway, be on guard always. Every Mason, and particularly new members, should even be cautious and alert to the dangers inherent in entering into conversations concerning Masonic matters, degrees, etc. with anyone. Remember that a Masonic pin, button, or ring is no guarantee that the wearer has ever received the Masonic degrees, or even if he has, that he is now in good standing and worthy of your confidence. The safe policy is don't talk unless or until you know from whom the overture comes. Now, and we hear that there's handshakes and different other things you can do to identify oneself. I doubt that's probably something you're allowed to talk about, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is that accurate?
What's accurate? What they said about being cautious what you say?
Oh, well, yeah, that definitely is accurate. But I'm just saying to identify oneself, is that used, like, if you wanted to know if someone really was a Freemason, would a handshake do it? Is handshake something that is used? Is this something you can even talk about?
I could talk about it to a certain degree. There is no handshakes. And that's
so that's all crap. Like when you see this stuff online where they have different handshake types and they say this is a Freemason's way of telling a Freemason this, that's all crap.
That is all crap. I know
cool.
Okay. I know you might see you go online, you see like old picture of people doing some weird handshakes, and it seems real. It looks 100% real, and it's just one of those things. Like, is this guy who's a Freemason saying that it's not real? Is he really telling truth? But me being 100% real with you, I'm going to tell you the truth. That we do not have handshakes. We do not have no such thing as handshakes.
Like in ancient times,
like you said, I don't go online to look at this weird freaking gang sign handshake, and they could, they could go most of it.
Well, like here,
handshake and say,
here's an example of conspiracy myth gone wrong. Like they say that the fish symbol isn't. I get sucked up into these things sometimes too, and it's when you don't properly research something and you just roll with it. That's when you're going to embarrass yourself.
Okay, cool.
But long story short, people are always saying that Christians don't use the fish symbol, that's day gone, you know what I mean, and that has been pushed onto them, this and that. And even though some of that may be true, because the Catholic Church did absorb stuff as it goes along, Asian Christians would come to a beach and they would draw half, like if they ran into people, if they wanted to know if they were a fellow Christian so they could talk about stuff, they'd draw half a fish. Now, if the other person would finish the fish, because you couldn't really tell what half a fish is if you didn't know what was going on, then they knew it was a Christian. It was okay to talk. But if that person, like, kicked that crap in the sand and took off or just kept walking, they knew they weren't a Christian. They knew it wasn't safe to talk with them. What do Freemasons use to identify each other like that if they've never met? Or is this something you can't talk about?
Easy. No, it's easy. It's easy. So if I meet another Mason, okay, just whatever, just hanging out, and I see he's in the water brain, whatever. I might go up to him. I'm like, hey, are you a Freemason? He looks at me and says, yeah. Let me see your dues card. And I just show him my dues card, and he showed me his, and we're good to go.
Okay, that makes sense.
Card,
yeah. That makes perfect sense, because, you pay dues. So, of course, you're going to have proof of this.
Yeah, because, you see a lot of, I met a lot of fake Masons, and I can tell you one in particular situation, which was the most funniest situation, event I ever experienced in my whole life, meeting a fake Mason.
Okay.
And I met a lot. I was in a liquor store, and I was wearing my hat. Again, with the hat. Gotta stop wearing that damn hat. But, so when, I'm looking at some beers, and he comes up to me and said, oh, hey, brother, you must be a Mason as well. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm a Mason. And he did some weird stuff with his legs and his hands, like posing. Like, I'm thinking, like, wait, is he a gang member? Like, what's going on here? What's this? And I'm just giving him a look up and down, like, and I look at him, I said to him, like, what are you doing, man? I'm not following. He's like, oh, you're not a Mason because you don't know what I'm doing. I'm like, because Masons don't do that. That just looks foolish. Come to find out he wasn't a Mason. His father was a Mason, so he thought since his father was a Mason, it's a bloodline, I guess, and he's a Mason. And I said, no, it doesn't work like that. You have to join a lodge. And and if you went to a lodge doing that, they're gonna laugh at you, man. Not in your face, because that's disrespectful. They just might go in the back and giggle about it because it's foolish.
Yeah.
The only way for us to know you're a member is to show you do stuff. And the way you speak, and the way your mannerisms, and the way you speak about your lodge, it also shows that you're a member. Because if I ask you certain things about a lodge, where does the worshipful master sit? Everyone knows he sits in the east, or what's the junior deacon sit? So he sits right here, But then again, if you go to different, like you go to New York, you go to Pennsylvania, they might have different lodge where they sit because different grand lodges have different rules and different regulation and ritual and all that. But when you go to another state, your dues card, it just shows. Also, if you come to a lodge, like I went to
the chaplain and the worship master sit in the east. The steward, the senior warden, and another steward sit in the west. The junior deacon by the outer door. Am I right? I mean, is this standard practice of how people sit around the altar?
To cut you real quick, you are right and you're wrong. You're right because there's certain jurisdictions, there's certain grand lodges that actually have that setting. If you go to Pennsylvania or different lodges outside the United States, they don't sit there. Well, the warden and the worship master does, but the deacons, the stewards might sit in a different location. That's what I was about to tell you. When I went to Connecticut to visit a lodge in Connecticut.
So what goes down on the altar? Before we move along too far here, what goes down on the altar?
Yeah, what was it?
Like, I mean, is it just called that? Really, nothing interesting happens around it. The altar that everyone surrounds. I mean, what really? I mean, is there like mock worship and stuff, like the ceremony of sacrifice that happens in the Bohemian Grove? Like, do you guys do stuff like that? What happens? People are curious. That's why I'm asking. They're gonna want to know.
No, okay. So when you go to church, when you go to a Christian church, which I don't want to say Freemasonry is Christian oriented or Christian made, which kind of was, but I don't want to get to that. It's universal. But, you know, when you go to a Christian church, you see the priest, and he's in front of the altar, and he has the Bible on top of the altar. Now, that's what the altar is in Freemasonry. It holds the volume of secret law, which it could be a Quran, it could be a Christian book, it could be King James Version, it could be many things. Obviously, it has to be a religious book itself. It has to be something like that, you know. I guess Buddhists, I'm pretty sure Buddhists don't have a book, but they have like a quote that they do. I don't know, but anyways, to get back to your thing, so on the altar, you have that book.
Okay.
You have the book of the members that they're religious.
I'm sorry, this took me a second, George. I have to cut you off real quick here. This is all wonderful information. But right here, the Michigan Masonic Ritual Table of Contents, and you go to the Masonic Glossary, 143. You look up Hiram Abiff, it's spelled Hiram, and his last name Abif. He's classified as the builder, the widow's son, the architect of Solomon's temple. I didn't realize that. So, in theory, is Hiram Abiff a demon?
Sorry, you cut off. What?
What was the last part that you heard?
You said that you spelled out Abiff's last name.
Oh, okay. So he's classified in the glossary as the builder, the widow's son, the architect of Solomon's temple. And it, you know, because I thought demons built the temple. Is it possible that Hiram Abiff, it could be like code, it would be demon? You know what I mean? It's just weird when you think about it and you wrap your mind around it. It's definitely interesting.
Well, I can tell you what I know. I think he was the top architect of the temple, and he had masons under him, mass masons, telegraph, and EAs.
Yes, that's what's explained.
And EAs, I think it was.
But masons didn't build the temple. Well, you know, in reality, people did. But you know what I mean? But in the Bible, they said Solomon used demons to build the temple. So I just wonder if this is a play at saying that it's Hiram Abiff is a demon. Do you see my following?
Actually, Hiram Abiff is in the Bible. And they actually describe him as he helped Solomon build the temple.
Now, what's him being the widow's?
I don't know what to say about that. It just, there's a lot of speculation about it. And,
understand.
You know, one minute he's a demon, one minute he's not, but realistically, he's not a demon. He's an actual person within the Bible itself. Obviously, a lot of people say the Bible is not real, so it's always.
No, he's referred to as.
David said,
he's referred to as the widow's. You're fine. I keep cutting you off. He's referred to as the widow's.
No, you keep breaking up. That's why.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it's the recording will pick up fine though. Long story short, he's referred to a lot as the widow's son. What is the reference to that? What's that mean? Does it even mean anything?
Exactly what that means.
But why point it out? Why point that out though? You know what I mean? Over and over. It must mean something more than that.
Because back in the day, if you read the Bible, you know how it says, like, you know, Solomon, son of David, son of this, son of that, son of this. I think in the Bible they didn't know his real father, so they just used his mom and said, you know, he is the son of a widow.
But yet he is he is the widow's son. Like the widow is something is important. Like
exactly. Like so I think they try to they didn't do the father thing. Instead they put the mom in and made sure the reason why they inserted the mom's name or whatever as a widow's son because they don't know the father, so they know the mom. But the reason why they put the mom in because she's a widow, or you know what I'm saying. So,
yeah, I understand. It's just weird that it's there nowadays.
It's confusing.
You know what I mean? That they would put that in there. I agree with you.
It's in the Bible too as well. I'm not really, you know, I read the Bible a couple times and I've seen that part, and you know, I got the King James version. So yeah, it's very weird. It is weird.
Yeah, and right here there's another photo of, and this is a diagram showing the proper setup of the lodge room, where a cluster of 3 lights is used as the lesser lights. It should be placed in the same position as the east light. Does that sound correct?
Again, different lodges do different things. That might be correct in certain lodges.
Okay.
It kind of sounds correct with a little couple differences. But if you go to all the lodges, you know, this kind of stuff is not secret. Anyone will go in a lodge and take pictures and see what chair is where. But yes, it sounds correct. But again, you go to different lodges.
Okay, that
they
makes
might have
sense.
it a little different.
That makes sense. Thank you, buddy. Hey, Abiff. Do you guys refer to Hiram Abiff as my father?
No, we do not. I think the reason why he's mentioned a lot inside those kind of books is connection with building something, because like I said, he's a symbol within masonry, not within the degree work. You might think I'm full of crap, but this is my God. This is my opinion, what I have experienced. I think he's a symbolism within those books to describe certain things. This man, he's loyal. He kept his word. He went to work. He did this. He did that. So that's what I think where that comes from. Just like other biblical figures that's not in masonry itself, like the pyramid. That has nothing to do with Freemasonry, but it's talked about. It's talked about building yourself up. Well, in my opinion, we might have different things. That's what's good about Freemasonry. Everyone has their own opinion, but whatever makes you feel good makes you feel good. Like some might think Hiram Abiff is a creative masonry, which he is not, obviously, but another brother might take that as true. I take it as he's a symbolism of a man, a great man.
Hey, George.
What I've read about him.
What is the 40s? What is the 47th problem of Usid, which is your nickname?
That's a good question. I think it's like 5'7" something. 3'5". I don't know. 3'5". I don't know. I forget what it was. 5'4", some weird crap.
Well, it seems like Lucid had traveled through Asia, Africa, and Europe, and was initiated into several orders of priesthood, and rise to the sublime degree of Master Mason.
Yeah, because the fact that we try to learn everything, try to better ourselves, with mathematics, language, education, just overall try to better ourselves and better our community, because you can't do nothing if you're dumb. If you're dumb, you don't know nothing, so that's where that comes in. Just like I said, but the whole Mr. Abiff situation, I think that was mostly towards loyalty. The pyramid has to do with building yourself up. Those little bricks are different stuff within, you're learning something. Those bricks are little stuff here and there. One brick is you're learning how to better yourself. The next brick is learning, educating yourself in masonry, educating yourself in language, educating yourself in science, mathematics, et cetera, and building yourself up as a better person, and not being stupid and dumb and following the flock of sheep. These sheep nowadays, they follow each other. They make up weird mathematic problems and say 30, right there. Like,
all right. Let me bring up some stuff that you won't be able to just swat away like that. The pot of incense. It's an emblem of pure heart, which is always an acceptable sacrifice to the deity. All right. Where should we start there? I mean, and again, I know I'm ambushing you with all this stuff, but this is from your own books. And who is the deity, and why are we doing sacrifices of a pure heart?
There's no sacrifice.
But this is the stuff.
Animals, because we don't do no such thing.
Well, no, I'm reading this out of your own book. I'm just trying to make sense of it. Not your book, but a book from the institution you belong to. And this is stuff, I mean, like I said, there's been multiple things over and over and over and over that I've read that is like, you know, a wolf hiding in sheep's clothes is what it seems to me. But I'll read the whole this is okay. This is from the yes, I'll read the whole passage too, so it's not just, taken out of context. The Michigan Masonic Ritual, and this is on page 112, and it's numbered on the side of each line as it goes down, and there's 45 lines on this page. And this is line 14, and highlighted is the pot of incense, and it goes on, I shall read, is an emblem. The pot of incense is an emblem of a pure heart, which is always an acceptable sacrifice to the deity. And as this glows with fervent heat, so should our hearts continually glow with gratitude to the great and beneficial author of our existence for the many blessings and comforts we enjoy. And deity, author of our existence. I mean, if it is God, why not just say Jesus or God? Because this is what gets people so caught up in this, is because there are all these Bible references, but not one about God, not one in any of these books.
Wait, to cut you off. Okay, so I kind of understand where it's come from, but I guess this is my opinion. A lot of people will have different opinions on this.
I don't think you guys are actually worshiping the devil, but I do think that there's a whole bunch of stuff written in these books that would make one believe so, and it's enough to make you wonder what's going on.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, it makes like incense. You sacrifice it. I know. It does sound a little suspicious. Don't get me wrong, it does.
It sounds like pretending.
Not you in general. The viewers and everyone else have to have an open mind and realize that it mostly is pointing towards the spiritual side of Masonry, because Masonry is not one thing. It's always about different things within craft Masonry. A
lot of people don't know, but the Shriners is an Arabic Muslim Middle Eastern society that Western people are practicing.
Yeah.
And I don't think a lot of people knew that. And if they knew that, I don't think they'd give money to the charity. To be honest, between me and you, even though this will be on YouTube, and I'm sure other people will agree with me, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean?
Oh, you're right. But the thing is that it was made as the Arabic side of it is a theme. It's not the legitimate.
I have realized that too, that there really are no Arabs or Muslims involved in it. But why use their symbology?
No, there is not. Because the person that actually created Shriners, he was it was actually established in New York City.
Yeah, I know. It's documented in the
1872.
Yeah, it's documented in the video I made, but I don't remember who he is off the top of my head.
Okay. So yeah, they can go back and check that video.
Yeah, there's Freemasonry in the shrine.
He was a what do you call it? He did plays, and back during that time, all that stuff, Arabic and Morocco, was very popular actually. If you look back at all the movies that had to do with Egypt, they had to do with Turzified and all this
and the mummies
and special stuff. So that's why it came from. Unfortunately, it got like that during that time. It was very everyone knew what it was. It was just a spoof. It was just a theme. It was just fun. But nowadays, that modern time, you get all these younger guys that's like 26, 27 to this conspiracy stuff. They think it's Muslims, this and this and that, but it's not like that. It's mostly fun and games.
Interesting. I'm glad we brought that up because I'd probably looked more into that until we talked. But yeah, really, you don't really find Muslims in the Shriners or even Arabic people of any sort, Middle Eastern. But, it is a Middle Eastern organization, and when you first look at it looks like it's funded out of that, and then you look at all the problems they're having nowadays. It's just enough to piss people off, kind of. You know what I mean? It is just enough to piss people off. To cut you off very quick, I just want to just say this, that whether you're Christian, Muslim, or whatever, you can join
any body within Masonry, exception from Commandery because it's a Christian organization in the United States. We do not discriminate. We do not discriminate against anybody. But that isn't to say some Grand Lodges do, and that is unacceptable. Georgia and Tennessee, you better be friggin' get your stuff together.
Yeah, they don't discriminate. They even gave me a card.
So anybody can join.
They even gave me a card. Not that they'd probably actually let me join after talking to me, but you know.
Yeah. You know, so what was the other thing you were talking about before?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, we're going on almost 2 hours. We've talked about almost everything there is to talk about. Really, buddy. This has been a good show.
Wait. No, you were talking about that incense. That's what you were going
the pot of incense.
It was about, I think it was going towards, because we don't use such things as incense within law. That's just, we don't use
it's
that.
not what it is. Burning incense doesn't bother me. It's the terminology that it's referenced, that it's supposed to be representing a pure heart. That's satanic in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, that you guys burning stuff saying it's supposed to represent a pure heart is like a mock sacrifice. You get what I mean? It's like pretending to sacrifice a pure heart is what it is.
No, I think it was mostly, I know it sounds a little satanic and demonic, but what I'm taking it as is that.
And that's not the only thing. That's just one thing.
Sorry, what was that?
Oh, I said that's not the only thing. I found all kinds of other chapters in different books. It's the stuff that's like stuff that almost talks about like the organization is trying to destroy society.
Yeah. No, well, anything a Mason says, always some people will find it very educational, spiritual, or very like, that's very interesting. I never heard that before. And you get the other side, oh yeah, they tweak it up and they try to make it seem like it's negative. Like there was a video, you've probably seen the video of the Shriner. The gentleman was asking the Shriner if he believed in Satan and if he worships Satan. And actually, there's a situation where he did say that. He said, "Oh, we do," but he was being very sarcastic. You could tell by his face, and people ran with that. And they're like, "Oh my God, forget it."
I haven't seen it. So
there's certain things that we, as Masons, that be very careful what we say and how we say it, because you're absolutely right. Certain things we say, we take it as different. Like if I said, "Hey, your pure heart, we need to sacrifice our pure heart." To me, that means I got to sacrifice my time to be better. But to you, it might be like, "Oh man, he's sacrificing, goats and babies."
No. What it makes people think is that once upon a time you guys did, but no longer do. Is really what it would make one think. Anyone.
Okay, no, we never did. Yeah, we never did. Like I said, Freemasonry came from a guild, stonemason, and like I said, back in the day, it was very religious.
Yes, but it's thousand years old, and throughout time, people did sacrifice their own babies to Moloch from the same origin, Israel, where this Masonic thing has came from. I mean, in defense of my whole everything, I just throw that out there because it happens to be accurate.
No, I completely understand. Freemasonry started in England in 1717 from the Grand Lodge of England. That's where Freemasonry came from. Like I said, Freemasonry itself came about because there was not that many stonemasons. A lot of people joined in, they weren't Masons in general, but they liked the esoteric, they liked the brotherhood, they liked the fraternity itself was just outstanding. So that's where Freemasons came from, because people were free-minded. They had their own opinion on certain things. That isn't to say Freemasonry took certain parts of different guilds, different rituals from different places, from Roman guild to Pompeii to this place. It's all speculation. Obviously, what am I saying? I might be 100% wrong on it about them taking certain things out of different guilds and incorporating into their own thing, making this thing. Because if you go to Scotland has what's that place called? Who was talking about it?
Yale.
Roseland chapter.
Yale University.
Sorry, what?
Were you talking about the Skull and Bones of Yale University?
No, I am not.
Oh. I thought you brought them up.
The only thing that oh, no, I'm talking about the Roseland Chapel.
The Roslyn Chapel from the books, from the Tom Hanks movies. Who was that? The Da Vinci Code. I know what you're talking about. Sorry.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that was built by yeah, it's a good movie. A lot of it is BS, obviously, but very, very unique and very the fact that they got certain things right. You know, if you go to Roslyn Chapel, you will see certain Knight Templar stuff and some Masonic stuff, and it's very unique and it's fascinating to see stuff like that. You know.
No, I wanted in this video today. I wanted to kind of paint a more accurate photo than my typical videos that I normally make. And I figured what better than an interview. I haven't really did an interview like this in a very long time. I have some more interesting guests actually lined up that are really going to shock you guys in the future. George has been an excellent guest. Hopefully, if there's any more questions that we read in the comments section, maybe one day George would like to come back and do another show. George, I'm gonna let you wrap this up, man, because I've asked you almost anything I could have ever wanted to ask a Freemason, and I'm very happy about that.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank the viewers for watching, and I would like to thank you for inviting me to your wonderful show.
Thank you for coming.
I just want to apologize for me being a little jittery and very talkative. I drank 3 pots of coffee.
No, you're fine.
Very hyper.
Is this your first time being on a show like this? Because it is all on the fly too. It is a lot, you know.
I don't know. It's a secret. Yeah, this is the first show. Yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool.
So
and you did a wonderful job. I've interviewed lots of different people, and this is definitely going to be up there as one of my best interviews, I would assume.
Yeah. So if you have any questions for me on Fritz, you could just leave it on the comment section, and more than likely Fritz will try to answer your question as much as he can. And if he needs help, he will get me, and I will talk to him so he could give you guys my answer to your question. But it was very nice to talk to you guys, and hopefully next time we will have someone more guys involved, and we could talk more about Masonry. Unfortunately, I'm not very educated on certain things like the Shriners, World Jesters, and a couple other organizations that we talked, and I came more opinion than anything. But yeah, thank you guys. It was great talking to you, and thank you for.
Yeah, maybe in the future we could do a live show where people could participate right then and there and leave comments in the comment sections and ask us questions as we go. Well, I just wanted to thank you guys for watching my YouTube channel, watching all my videos. And if you like this video, don't forget to head down south and hit the like button and leave a comment if you want to ask a question or tell us how much you loved this show because it was the best thing you've ever seen in your life. Whatever. You know what I mean? And thank you guys for your time. Have a nice day. Fritz K.O. Vid signing off. Here's my creepy theme music.